Jones? Here. Mr. Moore? Here. I'm here. First, consider the agenda for today. Want to approve it, striking, repealing certain portions, and set public hearing date concerning Resolution 10. We could. Or we can leave it and address that as we get to that agenda item.
Are we not repealing it?
Well, there's no recommendation to repeal. And if we repeal something, then a public hearing is necessary.
I make a motion to approve it, take it off the repealing part.
Motion from Jones. Moore, and to look as stated. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Next, look at the minutes from October 9.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Jones, approve the minutes. Moore. Comments concerning the minutes from the last meeting? All those in favor of approval, signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. November schedule, as an item.
Okay. On the 13th, you can meet after 1 o'clock, because we have to receive absentees up till noon on the 13th. You have to canvass the election either on that Tuesday or Wednesday. So you can meet 1 o'clock on Tuesday or regular time on Wednesday, 4 o'clock.
On our schedule to meet next Thursday, or next Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
I think that's the agenda today, or?
Well,
Prefer that?
for the canvas, I just didn't have it as soon as possible, because we put those.
Okay.
Which one would be better?
It doesn't really make a difference, we just have till noon on the 13th to receive absentees by mail yet, you know,
So
that's
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning will work, yep, yep,
Wednesday morning, regular time.
yep.
I think we'll have to do that.
Yeah. A lot of schedule rearrange to come in after lunch.
Okay, all right,
If I forget the other.
Yeah.
and then it'd be the 27th.
14 and 27 would be our dates for November, the canvassing on the 14th. Then we have a motion to set the November schedule on the 14th and the 27th.
Make a motion for 27.
Jones. For support, any further discussion? All those in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. And November schedule. So the engineer contract extension, or doing a new contract? Engineer wanting to be here for this portion, or?
Camper down the gravel.
I could call him too.
Sure. I thought I'd already asked about it. We can do that.
I don't want you to scamper down and fall.
Got enough workers not on mine.
Karen, did you want to be here while they were talking about your contract? Okay, they're doing that right now. Okay.
But there was a copy in my box of the printed out contract.
Oh, I've got these two, I don't know if that's what you wanted. That's what Jack evidently sent to you and Jason,
Yeah, that was the one they.
where they marked out,
That was the clean copy.
yep. I don't know if that's what you want or not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you need a copy of everybody.
Good morning.
Sit up here, I guess. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the one that's gonna be.
Yep. And then the highlighted was the next one.
Highlight out of it.
I did ask if Mr. Reed, director, was available by phone, if we would have anybody. Until 10:45, hopefully we're long over.
I just want to say I appreciate, the opportunity, to think about, I think this is important for us all to have a, discussion regarding this, renewal, and this is an important next step, from a long-term perspective. Also, one thing I do want to say, this is my hope to be here at Osceola County long-term. We enjoy here, we like the community, we like where we live, we like people in the area in general. I mean, it is a place that we enjoy, just so you know that. That's what I hope it would be long, I really do. Really do. Hopefully you guys received my email, kind of just some things that I noticed, and again, I apologize if I misunderstood anything, from previous meetings or just general conversation.
My understanding that the draft contract we have here that we're considering was reviewed by our attorney and was worked out with Mr. Reed. He's addressed a number of the items you had commented on. The board's trying to, because this is how the contract, we want the contract to be presented, or to be altered or changed.
I'm all right with the way Jack had it.
Identified December or November 1st as the date of the contract, if we were doing anything may use a different date that it costs on. November first being the time we want. Contract annually. Again, approving the contract, we should extend the current contract by 2 days or a week or whatever. 2 weeks, but if we need time to review this, consider it. Being that there are benefits received currently by the engineer under contract that are different than the personnel policy, just has a gap between contract and it should be problematic or something worth avoiding. There's an essentially problematic.
Just make things a little more complicated, not terribly more so. So would you want to extend it out to the 14th?
If this one gets signed, it says it replaces all previous contracts, so yeah, I don't see where that. Extended a month or 2 weeks or however we want to do it.
And that'd be enough time for you to review that?
Probably just depends on the, you know, what the contract, the final contract is, you know, if this is the final
This is the
contract.
final contract.
Yeah, then I would say it the next have 2 weeks to talk things over more, so it's not like, you know, on that topic. But I don't think it's, there is definitely a couple key items that, you know, I'd like to talk about more. I don't know if it's better with the other board members or, you know, the three of you are, you know, it's up to a quorum, so. And I do think it's important to have a discussion on it, so.
I could say.
Yeah, no, long term, I do want, I really would like this to be a long-term place. I really would. This is exactly what I want, and, I see just a lot of opportunity here. I see, you know, from a big picture standpoint, the continuity, and I really believe the continuity is needed here too. Because right now we've embarked upon kind of a plan and a program that I would hope would save taxpayers lots of money over the next, you know, decade. And the only way for that to really come to fruition is some continuity and somebody aggressively taking forward that plan and carrying that flag. I mean, I would hope that takes place, and, you know, to be honest, this is a nice community, it's a nice place. I like living here, I like rural. I know that I could get paid more if I went somewhere else potentially, but that's not what I'm necessarily after. I'm okay with my compensation. You know, I wanna make sure that long-term, I'm not, you know, falling behind, you know, inflationary wise, because then I know it puts me in a position where I have to make I might have to make choices.
But you gotta factor in the cost of living too.
Yeah.
Cost of living here is not terribly expensive.
No,
So if you are compensated compared with what cost of living is here, it's a pretty good gig.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying that, like I just said, you know, I'm okay, I'm content being in a rural area, and that's where I like it. I'm content with my pay, in the sense of what it is, my compensation that I currently have, I'm content with that. I'm thinking long-term from an inflationary standpoint and from, you know, those type of things too. I don't wanna fall behind, because, you know, my peers further, you know, maybe further, potentially long-term. I'm just being frank. I don't
Like,
see any.
just like every other county, what your increases are depends on what they have available in the budget.
Correct, yeah.
So you can't just set it and say you're gonna be guaranteed.
Oh, no, I'm not asking for a guarantee. I just, again, going back, I was under the thought that I'd kind of be just kept in line with a lot of my other people in my department, you know, salary people. I'm not talking about hourly necessarily, but they might also be now that they're not under a union contract. You know, and just the normal procedures that are, you know, utilized in Osceola County, I think would be sufficient, and I don't see any problem with that. Hopefully I'm not miscommunicating something here. I'm fine with where I'm at, is what I'm saying. I'm not looking to try to go just so I can get $10,000 more right now, or anything like that, okay? the goal is, I don't wanna also just like stay stagnant for like 10 years and then see my peers 30,000 more than me. You get what I'm saying? Because inflation does change, and so I would be concerned about that. I'm just letting you know from a long-term perspective that could become a problem, and I wouldn't want it to become a problem, so, yeah. I'm open to talking about the vacation thing too. I'd like to know kind of more some of your thoughts on it, how this is, I know I'm a little bit different than some people. Obviously, when I coordinate my vacation, I coordinate with my department mostly. I let the board members know, I try to let people know. But more so I focus on my workflow and the people and when they're gone and stuff too, so we don't overlap one of my things. If you'd like to have it where it's over 1 week, you want it on the agenda, or how that would look, it'd be nice to kind of know, just so I'm aware where your thoughts are there.
Well, obviously, if you're gonna take a vacation, you're gonna plan it ahead.
That's what I do, yeah, that's what I do.
So if it was gonna be more than a week, then that'd be something that the board
Yep.
would decide. Because there has been times now in your department where you've had all three of you gone out of there, and there's nobody down there.
Well, the only problem when that's taken place, it hasn't been because we've been gone on vacation, though. It's been because like I've had to respond to emergency on the field, or something to that effect, and that everybody else is not.
There's a cold where there's nobody down there.
I don't know if that ever happened, to be quite honest. Or not to my knowledge. What took place, I'm very confused on that topic.
Just a sign on the door, there wasn't even a sign on the door. And it was like, I want to say it was like, at a fair minimum, it was 3 days of everybody being out of there. And I think you were on vacation, somebody else was sick, somebody else was gone. But it would just be nice from that perspective, because you have such a small office, that we have a little heads up if you're gonna be gone for an extended period of time. Because you never know what comes up with that few of people down there.
No, I understand. Again, I'm not aware of any time where, there was any intention, because I've always maintained that when we do a vacation, just to be clear, that there's always somebody here. The thing is, you're right, it's a small staff, so things could theoretically happen, because there's times where 2 people are gone, and then only 1 person's left.
Yeah, so if it comes down to where you had the other 2 people in your office still or whatever, man, I don't know, we can't have you be gone for another week.
Oh, sure, and again, that's what I'm explaining too. I've always scheduled in that sense, but I'm open to doing something different too.
So then what's your issue with the, approval for the second week?
Well, I just wanted to get more clarification and talk about it, because I was wondering where it was coming from, or what's,
I think it's workable, like I said, if you're planning for 2 weeks, it's gonna be something not spur of the moment.
Correct, yeah.
So, before you book something for 2 weeks straight, or longer than a week, I shouldn't say 2 weeks, longer than a week, I don't know why it can't be announced to the board, this is what I'm considering.
Sure.
Is it approved,
Yeah.
something to be.
that's fine. One thing I'd let you know, like, on the last vacation I booked, we were just kind of watching airfare pricing, and that's why we ended up booking it, because they had a good deal for that period. Or else I would have only gone for 1 week, actually. It was because of the pricing on the airfare, so.
I think it's workable, but
Sure.
I understand it's a little bit of a change, but I think it's a good thing to have the board aware when those instances are going to happen, doesn't mean they can't.
Can it be something too, where I can say I'm looking at planning a trip that might be 1 to 2 weeks over, the coming up in, November, you know what I mean? And then, because, in other words, like, I'm just going over the last booking, it wasn't based on necessarily me planning to be gone those actual 2 weeks. I was coordinating with my office, and then I saw that I had an opportunity, so I asked to check with Carol and see if there was any conflict, and that's why we jumped on and booked it. Just because it was.
I think it can be presented as, this is the window we're looking at,
Yep.
it's likely going to be longer than a week.
Just clarifying that.
When it's scheduled, I'll notify what dates there are, and just that there's a plan that, you know, other staff is not gonna be taking vacation at the same period, we are working that out.
Okay.
I don't think it has to be absolutely rigid, but it just encourages or requires the conversation and the awareness, and I think that's beneficial to all involved.
I'm okay doing that. I am. I just wanted to kind of understand what that would look like, so I could, you know, plan with my family, those type of things too, how that would work out. You know? I guess one key thing too would be, you know, the terms of the contract were changed, and again, this is a big item, on the, you know, amending, revising, and extending, you know, only by resolution of the board of supervisors. You know, previously you know, I am signing a two-party contract, and, you know, one of my thoughts on that would be, you know, so before it was, you know, only by, you know, basically an agreement between the board and the engineer, that this thing could be amended, revised, and extended. Again, I'm thinking long-term here, gang. My goal is here to be here long-term. I'm not thinking about just this board, or I'm thinking about, like, what's it gonna be like 10 years from now? What's it, you know what I'm saying? All those type of things, too, and so I think you have to look at it from maybe that, hopefully you can see it from that perspective. You know, this is an automatic renewal, this is something that I'm looking at being here for a long time, and this contract being in place for a long time, so I would definitely, draw your attention to that, that's an important thing. The other thing would be, discussion on, severance. You know, right now, in my current contract, I'm committing to or giving the county, you know, 2 months' notice, which is a long time to give an employer notice. Because the other employer, let's just say, conceptually, that there was an exchange. I'm giving them a very long notice that they have to wait for me. And I'm fine doing that, because again, my goal here is to be here long-term. So, but right now, the way I read it changed notably, and so now, even without cause, you know, the board isn't under any obligation to provide any, I mean, they may terminate at 60 days, they say, but obviously they could do it less, and,
It says no less than 60 days.
you know, it says,
Instead of giving 60 days.
upon issuance of such termination. Okay.
It's just around for a period of 1 year, renews unless either party gives other written notice no less than 60 days.
Okay.
So it's 60 days.
So you have to give 60 days,
No less than 60 days.
no less than 60 days notice?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean,
The difference I would see in the severance is that we have the 60 days identified previously, and recognizing the other circumstances of which the engineer has in place, if we're free to pay the engineer any time. At the time of the termination, severance allowance equal to the amount of 2 months' salary, and now we say up to an amount equal to 2 months' salary.
Correct.
That's a change that we intend to make, or do we want to continue to use one board then?
let me quickly talk about it. Again, this is more, I would say, I'm not, me personally, I don't know that this is the end of the world, okay? But I can see it from like my wife and like my family standpoint, there's some security, you know, considering this long-term again, that if I'm gonna be here 10, 15, 20 years from now, you know, boards change, things change, a whole bunch of stuff change, right? In the res, you know, I don't know that, right now, I'm glad there's a 5-person board. If there was a 3-person board, I would actually be concerned about having a majority vote on a lot of these things, because, which, that can be fine, but, you know, on a 3-person board, it doesn't take much for the winds of politics to change things drastically, and so, Yeah, that's why I'm talking about this. Again, I don't wanna ask for the moon here, guys, at all, I don't. This is more, gives more of a sense, I think, of security for my wife, long-term, from that type of perspective. Actually, I'm okay in general, it just, obviously with it being up to, it basically says 0 to 2, you know, and so.
I don't have a lot of experience in this, I guess I just don't understand why we would pay someone for no longer being our employee. You know, I think when we invite someone to come be our engineer, we pay to remove expenses, we would likely do that again. I see on the front end a reason to participate in that. If we're providing 60 days, that's 2 months worth of awareness that
Sure.
things are changing. And you would have pay for that period, you would have vacation time, you could, I mean, theoretically, it could be used to then start pursuing something else.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
I understand that it's probably done, I am just saying, I guess I don't understand why. Well, I'm content with this change.
Let me,
And the fact that we are offering the contract, I think it's reasonable.
Because I always have asked those things. There isn't anyone else that works here in the courthouse that has a 60-day severance or a 60 days notice.
no, I know that.
And if you were just a regular, non-contract employee like previous engineers, I mean, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Well, actually, there is, the sheriff's department has a contract, they're a union, they're a union, and obviously.
And we're not a union. You're not a union.
I'm not a union, I understand it, no, I agree with that. In county engineering, there, you know, a large portion of them do, you know, this is a practice that goes back a long time. I'm not saying that there has to be a contract, but there's benefits, I think, on both sides too. With the contract, obviously, there's a commitment on my side, you know, too, to give you a long notice, even if something does change in my life with this whole situation, which I think is beneficial to the county. You know, it spells things out, it's a little more clear. It's also clear for our future, the future people that come, whoever comes, you know, in the future.
I understand, but to me, the county is committing the same thing to you in the event that a separation take place, that we're allowing you to treat us. You only have to give us 60 days
Sure.
and you can be out the door.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's unreasonable to,
Sure.
on both sides, have the same option. It mentions that we could still do the severance.
I know.
But if there is not a requirement, I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah, again, that's the way I'm saying this too, I'm not necessarily diabolically against this thing. I'm thinking of it more from the security of like my family, so just letting you know that, you know, I can see it being, and let me also say one other thing. I mean, the reason why it's in here is that there is some precedence for this type of thing too. It's not, I mean, I checked with other people that have contracts, and this type of language is not uncommon at all. Why would that maybe not be uncommon? Well, let me explain. Like if you were just an hourly employee working for a company, you typically are at will. Many times they give severance as just a standard operating policy, more so just to avoid lawsuits, things like that, right? The thing about certain positions is in management and such, a lot of times there are more standard, things like that agreed to up front. And it depends on the business and what it is, but you need to think of this more as this position as being an executive or a principal in a company. And those people usually do get actually a lot more severance. I'm just being straight, than somebody who's just an hourly at will employee. That's the way it is.
Those aren't
Yeah.
government entities, those aren't apples to apples.
They're not apples to apples, but again, like I was saying,
But this is based on-
my peers do.
Yeah.
In Iowa too, so I'm not.
Yes and no. This contract is based on a version of what the Engineers Association uses.
Yep.
So, this same contract is being used by everybody that, this guy's, 15 some odd plus counties.
It's been modified.
It's been modified.
It has, because
But-
I've seen them.
It's got all basically the same stuff in it.
Yeah, very similar stuff. Correct.
So,
It's written more from a board's side, which is understandable, but again, I'm not, diabolically opposed to this. I think it should be considered though, because
so you're not okay with the year-to-year renewal? Is that what I'm taking from this, or?
like I wanted to say, right, like I said, is that I like this, look at this from the long-term perspective, and I'm thinking not just now, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So that's why this is an important step, I think, in that process. And I do think an automatic renewal is a good thing. I think some of the key areas are, you know, any amendment or revision, obviously is by both parties. I would think that would be important to me. I'd like us to consider, you know, slightly changing the language on the 2 months severance, because I think that might be a good thing too, just from my family sense, even though in real life, I don't know that it would ever apply.
Change it to what, though? What do you want it to be changed to?
Well, in other words, if we just agreed upon 2 months, I'd be okay with that. I know I talked about something more, and I'm okay even foregoing that, to be honest, guys.
I mean, your 60 days is essentially a 2-month severance.
Correct. I'm
Is
employed.
there room to include, if you choose to leave the county, that you would reimburse the county for hiring expenses? I mean, to me, that's a give and a take,
Sure.
that's what you're asking, is to go forward from separation with some assurances. Well, if we have a separation of your choosing, I think it's reasonable to want assurances too then.
I would say that what you're talking about kind of goes to, you know, a lot of the discussions you guys are having are within the realm of reasonable contractual differences and adjustments. And if, you know, you, Aaron, want severance in addition and on top of a 2-month notice, you know, going along with the idea that it's protected is certainly, I think, very reasonable to go on the other end, talk about hiring expenses. The question is, how are you going to define hiring
I know,
expenses?
exactly.
Is there going to be a search that uses, you know, any kind of resources outside of just the board looking and posting? Are there going to be moving expenses that you're responsible for? Those are, of course, variable. So, you know, it's up to the board to decide here. Really, you know, I just see what I'm doing here, sitting here making sure that what is agreed to is legal. I think that having that be a bidirectional thing, where you're responsible for the hiring expenses of the new engineer, should you leave, that's an exchange benefit you have, and maybe that's a compromise you can come to. Another place I see possible compromise is in the length of the severance. If it was less than 2 months, maybe that would be more palatable to some of this board. Just a thing to think about.
I just don't know how this works out.
With the way it's written currently, and we can extend the contract and work session may need to be had until we approve something. Yeah. We gotta come down somewhere, and I'm thinking it is now. As to the next point, that this contract may be amended, revised, and extended only by resolution of the Board of Supervisors, that's similar to language in point 11 under the current contract. And if the attorney was out here, we could call Jack. To me, this is a contract extended by the board, so ultimately it would be their decision on how it looks. Either the engineer signs it or doesn't, that's the
This
two-sided.
is our offer.
That's the two-sided aspect of it. It's not requiring the changes to take place. It's announcing that this is what we intend to see change, and if there's no agreement, then we don't have an engineer, or we don't have a new contract, I don't know, I mean.
Yeah, and if you don't come to an agreement, I think like we talked about yesterday, I think it was with Aaron, you know, you would revert essentially to an at-will employee until there is a new contract or a decision by the board to no longer have an engineer. But at the end of the day, you know, we're correct. A lot of times when people make agreements, when people have contracts, if it's 2 business entities, it's very common for them to agree that the modification will only occur with the consent in writing of both parties. Employment contracts are oftentimes a little more one-sided. Sometimes there's room to negotiate on what terms of a contract can be modified. If you can specify only these terms can be modified, only on written consent of both parties, but other X, Y, Z terms may be unilaterally modified by the employer. Again, that's a devil's in the details sort of thing that the board and the person they're offering employment to would have to come to some kind of agreement on if they were to modify that.
And there's nothing in it that doesn't say you couldn't come to the board and say, hey, this is going to start to get used elsewhere, would you consider putting this in the contract? We would have to consider at that point, but we're just operating on the contract as it is, and it renews annually as it is, unless, change is made to it.
It might be fine, I'll be honest, I know it's a big point, also, when my wife read that too, and not to push everything there too. I guess, every contract I've seen had the language board and engineer, every single one I've ever seen. So obviously it hasn't changed, and this is a unique language that I've never seen, prior to this plan.
I'm in dispute. In the last contract, point 11 says this contract may be amended, revised, and, okay, no,
Is that? No,
Sorry.
I agree, because every contract I review, like when I talk to other,
couldn't change a contract that you don't sign. I mean, that would become engineer.
I just look at like interpretation here, you know, what, because let's say you had a different situation 10 years from now, and
I think you're splitting the hair.
I know, again, I don't know how this could get interpreted, 10 years from now, like, I think right now, I mean, personally, I don't see a problem, like right now,
Well, I think that came, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
how this looks down the road, or how this can define a relationship going forward, but, 10 years down the road isn't necessarily the most realistic way to look at that provision, because with an automatic annual renewal, that doesn't mean there's not reconsideration of the contract. And as you go further in an employment relationship with a contract, you tend to realize where challenges and problems might lay, and those come up and can be discussed annually. What is an issue is if, say, the board were to hypothetically take some action in the future, modifying the contract, and you and I have had other discussions about what could be called constructive termination.
Exactly.
That is reducing someone's role, benefits, salary, involvement, job assignment, to the point that functionally speaking, they no longer have the job that they were contracted to have. And at that point, it becomes a general question of contractual interpretation, whether the contract has been canceled or not, and if it's been canceled by unilateral action, which may circumvent the termination provision. So that is where it could possibly become problematic. And, again, I would say that Aaron's point about how this looks in the future is relevant, because when we make contracts, when we make agreements, when we make rules, we're not just making rules for the people that are here that make them now, we're making rules for the people that will be here 5 and 10 years from now. And of course, if this can be changed, modified annually, that reduces that problem. But yes, there is some issue that if you have unilateral modification, if someone in the future takes that too far, it could cause contractual problems. Again, this is for the board to decide. The board is making this offer of employment, and if they would like to explore other options, they may. But this is a classic situation in which, within the bounds of the law, which I believe you are all right now, it is up to you to make a decision on how you shape this offer.
Is there any other spots in the contract that were an issue?
Those, okay, so, to me, the most, important issues from a long-term perspective are probably the language that we just discussed, on that item number 13. To some degree, on a side note, I think the severance is something, even though I don't even know if it will matter in the end. It's just, to me, it probably has something from a goodwill, intent that, you're wanted long-term, and that, yeah, so that's one aspect that, that 13, possibly 12A, and then, I guess the other stuff I'm fine, based on our discussions, having in there, the 1 week unless approved by the board, especially if there's an understanding by the board too, that there's potential flexibility, or I say, I'm planning a winter vacation, I'm planning to be gone over this 3-week period potentially for a week or two, or something to that effect, and I would check with people, I'm fine with that, even if it's just a gentleman's agreement, just a verbal understanding, how it might work, I'm fine with that.
I would say that, if you're gonna have a verbal understanding about something that's, your decision, the board's decision, I'm gonna go ahead and guess, and from the last time I read that contract provides, or has what's called an entire agreement provision, which somebody's gone or one of your deputies is gone, that's a difficulty that could cause problems in the future. And if you just have verbal understanding, then that can bring issues. And I'm not saying you can't do that, it's just that's something I would point out.
Yeah, the other, key thing would be, cost of living adjustments, like how that gets clarified. I guess I was under the understanding that it might be just in line with, the other salary employees, like in my department and the courthouse or however that works, that you guys make those determinations. That's something that is probably important, I'd like to maybe understand that better, or have a discussion on it, or I'd like to see changes to,
I guess I envision the process continuing like it has, when we consider the budgets and elected official salaries that generally that gets used for other employees as well. There's no absolute requirement of that. Lyon County is an example this past year that, one of us got treated differently than others. Elected officials, we don't have that liberty with, but, so we are not bound by anything, but that is my intent to consider, with the wording, be considered annually. I think the process has been in place, so it would be continued.
but if we can, is that the way it is done here, or is it not really? You know what I'm saying, like,
What do you mean?
is that the way it is always done here, like, is it okay to have language in that matter, or is that a problem?
What language were you referring to?
Like, that salary, cost of living, like, adjustments would.
You don't get a guaranteed cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, would be, but anyway,
That
that's
was
in line
in
with
the draft, but right now it just identifies your current salary, and it states thereafter, on an annual basis, the county will consider salary adjustments. I see no reason why it would be different than what's been in the practice, but
Sure.
And given what the cost of living is around here, generally I would say that I've been pleasantly surprised and impressed with the majority of cost of living realities, especially as it relates to where it was in relation to where I was before.
Sure.
Food's a little more expensive than one might expect, and it's a little more difficult in that regard. Besides that, you and I aren't dealing with the massive cost of living fluctuations, and I know you have a family, so I'm not trying to speak for you, but this isn't San Francisco, where those sorts of things are massive issues. And so having that be discretionary, I think is probably useful. I'm not gonna say it will be a boon in the future, but, that's my opinion, it's not necessarily a cost of living issue. That's what's taking this much of a problem, but everybody views those differently.
Yeah.
we do have a 9:30 item.
Yep.
To address
She's
by-
gonna be late.
Oh.
She got hung up on Highway 18 construction.
I guess,
Are there changes that we would like to include in anything we're considering, or are we ready to take action?
Or they applying ways.
yeah, the other thing I was gonna bring up too is, I wonder, again, the way this renews too, I would think it would be nice to tie this in somehow so that it would be more reflective of like our budgetary cycle and the way that we budget as counties. Both from like salary adjustments, but also, when that takes place, because July 1st is kind of our budget. Yeah, go ahead.
The reason it takes place that way is because that's when the bulk of your work is already done. So that's when we know we need to start looking for a new engineer. If you leave, I can't be looking for one in the middle of July. So November makes sense because that's when the majority of the road work is done.
Oh, I'm confused, okay, so that's why you guys wanna have this in November?
That's why it's,
When would my salary?
That was kind of
I'm
neat.
confused, yeah.
My thought is we just hired you in August, if that's just how it worked out.
Yeah.
Extended the contract 2 months, we're just working through the process. I have no hard set feelings on November 1st, but I don't know why we wouldn't just start it now. I don't know that I see advantages to
I see
signing
some.
on July 1.
to having it where for dual, that puts me in November looking for somebody, rather than in the middle of the summer.
It is kind of, it is kind of a question of, what sort of sets the projects are more challenging potentially if we just game plan out, thinking about it for an engineer, you're right, lots of road construction in the summer months, but if you have a new engineer coming on November 1st, we already had 2 inches of snow.
Yep.
We are, we're staring down a hard snow season already on November 1st. You get a new county engineer come in, his second or her second or third new week could be serious game time with snow. So I mean, you're right, there's a lot of asphalt delayed in the summer, but
That's why we got those guys that are in charge of snow crews.
right.
It's seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
And every season has its own unique stuff, to be quite honest with you. It's actually an exciting job, I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, so, I just thought it sounds problematic potentially to me. Or at least it should be something I think needs to be talked about or discussed on what would actually function well when you think about budgets and all that stuff, because every year in the
Well, your contract knew up until this point, so you said it was August, this one.
28th or whatever.
No, it started, it went to the fiscal years when it got on track. It went, here, I'll show you. December 31st and then June 30th, July 1st to June 30th. It was on track for fiscal years, that way it could all be done.
And that's what our budgeting decisions affects every year.
That-
Because we were offering semi-annual salary increases is why those dates were identified. But once we got to the point where annually, the salary would be adjusted, it always reflected July 1 for the entire next fiscal year. And that, to me, is what this would do as well.
Well, it doesn't, right, that's what I'm getting at, right now.
It doesn't affect my ability to budget whatever your contract.
It's going to be as usual, same way.
Okay, but it just doesn't say that, but that's,
Do we want to put fiscal year salary consideration? I don't think it really changes it. Thereafter, on an annual basis, the county will consider fiscal year salary adjustments. Doesn't matter when we discuss the salary change, it's gonna be July 1 through June 30.
And if you're gonna put that language in there, I guess I see the benefit of having clarity there and predictability. It's a question of whether you want to bind yourself to that approach. I think that's perfectly reasonable, and if you're gonna put that language in, thereafter the board will consider salary increases to take effect at the commencement of the next fiscal year, or the beginning of the next fiscal year. That's one of those provisions that, really just 100% up to you guys. The benefit is that you have clarity, predictability, you know when it will take effect. The drawback is that you bound yourself to that approach, at least in that iteration of the contract. So, it's totally up to you to decide on that.
So you don't want us to increase your salary in January 1?
No, but that's when we determine those things, though. You know what I'm saying, and then we
I
budget
make it
for
right.
it. Yeah, for July, yeah. But I mean,
I got the same look my
yeah.
kids give me when
I
I
know.
tell my dad jokes.
I can see that functionally when we budget, it's important that we go through the normal process like in January and February, and then we approve those things, and then in July 1 it goes into effect, and then we know what we have for that fiscal year. I just see the value in that, but,
And if you want to contact Mr. Reed concerning this, I'm content with identifying a fiscal year salary adjustment language in some way.
I don't know that we really need to do it that way.
I think it's in line with what every intent is on my part and what the practice has been, but it does leave open that, well, some year you could say, okay, tied to the contract next year, you get your increase, so there are 4 months of increase that were delayed. It would be consistent with how I has always thought the process is going to continue anyway. Fiscal year, the change would take place.
So that would be item 16. Is that where that is?
Yeah.
Jack did say that any other changes we wanted to make, no one could make those. So I wouldn't necessarily have to call Jack, everyone is on board with that adjustment.
I had emailed him, he is available by phone right now, if we wanna call him and have him weigh in on this, any of this, we
Since
can.
we got a minute, we
Might as well if he's available.
She's out here now.
But I understand what our county attorney is okay with that language, I'm okay with adding that, I don't think it's inconsistent with the practice I envision happening anyway. So, I'd be interested in approving the contract as it's currently drafted with the addition of that language addressing the fiscal year.
then you're okay with no one making that change?
I am, we're running it by Jack, but I think, yeah, I think that's what's gonna be presented and it's consistent with what's asked. I think approval could be given and that started.
On item number 13, you don't wanna consider putting it back to the standard language, you want that changed language? I mean, I'm just wondering, I didn't know that.
I think I'm fine with where that's at.
Yeah, so either party shall notify the other party first of a request to amend, revise, or terminate, so. Indicates that each party needs to be notified and has the opportunity to be involved, so.
Well, again, we had a discussion here about this, and again, I'm thinking about the future here long term.
But at some point, we need to offer a contract. Anywhere without offering a contract.
Well, this is the contract we're on, minus the one change for the fiscal year salary adjustment.
So I guess I would like to see us extend our current contract to November 15th. Approve and present this contract to our engineer. Hopefully, we will sign and go forward with. And then I just think it'd be good.
November 14th.
I just said 15th, I don't know, in the middle of the month, maybe the 14th, so a meeting that day, kind of think about it. 3 weeks plus. And then I think it'd be good to include language that we understand that longer than 1 week vacation is already booked and we support. Under the new contract, that would, I don't know when the dates are, when is it that you're doing that vacation? It's already booked.
Yeah, 'cause Jack had
Actually,
it,
but it's,
Jack had it
week
here.
of Thanksgiving and week before Thanksgiving. We were gonna go the week of Thanksgiving with that. We had the best tickets, we flew out a week early.
Yeah, Jack said rather than writing a one-time exception to the new contract, the board just approved a 2-week vacation already planned.
Yep.
So that isn't anything we need to write in there, no.
In anticipation that if we come to an agreement on the contract, we're acknowledging that that would be approved.
So first, we should probably make a motion to have this current contract extended to the 14th.
Good, is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Mr. Moore. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All those in favor of the current contract extension to the 14th November, signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, next we want to address the contract we are considering offering.
So on 13, all we would change is to be renewed on July 1st, or do you want to keep that November 1st, or November whatever day renewal,
July 1st.
July 1st?
Right. Stay with November 1st. The effective date is set to November 1st. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that. The concern was the salary adjustment being tied to July 1st, right? Or making sure that was identified.
Yeah, I mean, just
More
going
so
in line
contract,
with the physical year, you know, and the salaries, and budgeting, and all that.
Okay. So I would make a motion to approve this contract
contract and acknowledge the vacation or
With the grant.
schedule. Support? Support from the board, any further discussion, questions? I would just say that, yeah, I don't mean to make light of what was brought up, I think we need to consider what as a county we want to offer, and I said that, with what I said. Without saying anything further, I will ask all those in favor, signify by aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, we have a contract with a little bit of language to be included, to be presented.
Do you want me to follow up with Jack on his 2 cents on the physical thing, or just let no one write it up?
I'll shoot Jack an email here and,
Okay.
or give him a quick
Do
call.
you mind, yeah, do you mind going up, give them a call and just tell them that that would be the only addition?
Yeah.
Either get his language or tell them your language and.
Yep. I'll go up to Chapman right now. When's the ordinance reapproval?
So we've got 9:30 and a 10 o'clock item, so it might be after 10, but
Okay.
maybe before.
How long did you guys, like the full half
Not
hour?
very, no, 15 minutes is fine.
Okay.
It might not even take that long.
Okay.
Thanks, Nolan.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. Thanks, Nolan.
Thanks, Jack.
All right, come on over here.
Do my jacket.
Planning Development Commission, concerning also the county's hazard mitigation plan.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Okay.
I am Sarah Albert. I work for Northwest Iowa Planning and Development Commission, and I have been in conversations with Dan about updating your county's hazard mitigation plan. That plan is through Iowa Homeland Security and FEMA, and what it does is it looks at natural hazards, the county's impact, or how they can impact the county, and then come up with actions and strategies to get grant funding to do different projects. So right now, your plan was done in 2014, and it expires in November of 2019. How this plan, the previous plans have worked is it was all grant funding, completely grant funded. You guys never paid a penny. How it was done last time is there was a local portion that was required, but that was all done through local match. So we kind of figured out, Homeland Security gave us a dollar valuation of what an hour of someone's time is worth, and so I documented it all on, signing sheets and meetings and things like that. So you guys never had to pay any money. But how it works now is because there is not as much grant funding as there used to be, there would be a contribution that the county would have to come up with. And what we're proposing, that I've talked with Dan with, they aren't wanting counties to go in anymore on these planning grants by themselves. They're trying to get counties to do them regionally and group them together. I don't know if they're thinking that's going to be a cost savings or not, but they're not going to approve grants now that are counties by themselves. So we're trying to get Osceola County in on the grant application that I started for Sioux County and O'Brien County. So the grant would be for Sioux, O'Brien, and Osceola together. Those counties are contributing $10,000 apiece, and so the request would be that you guys would be able to contribute the same. The funding, the maximum that we've been told that they can get from FEMA is $22,500 is the maximum grant amount that they can get. And then that $10,000 makes up the difference as what our cost would be. So the total for each county is $32,500, but of that $32,500, $10,000 is a cash match, and the $22,500 is federal grant money. So Sioux County and O'Brien County have already committed to their $10,000. When we were talking with them about a month ago, when we had how we're going to set this up is Sioux County is going to be the lead, and then we'll have to set up some kind of agreement for the local match between the counties participating, and we can do that once the grant is funded. They said it could take up to a year for the funding to be allocated, so I assume maybe next fall we'll hear of an award. So we have tried to come up with, some kind of an agreement for the funding. But Sioux County will be the lead, and then those counties have already contributed to that, like I said. So we just wanted to add Osceola County to that group, because if you don't join in on this group plan, You're either gonna fund it fully by yourselves with no federal grant money, or you're not gonna have one and it's gonna lapse. And the issue with that is, if any city or the county ever wanted to pursue any of that grant money, you would be ineligible if you don't have a current plan, and those plans are good for 5 years.
Who's Lion joined up with?
They actually got funded like a year ago, when they were still funding single plans. So the ones that we just finished up Lyon County, Dickinson County, Clay County, and Buena Vista County, those all got funded by themselves before they've implemented this. We're not funding single plans anymore. Because that would be ideal, because they're right next door. But because you guys are kind of landlocked, you're either joining Sue and O'Brien, or you're funding it all on your own, so.
But they won't receive individual counties.
Not anymore. So you're,
We're
that's
between a rock and a
then,
hard place.
yep, you're joining them, or you're paying a contractor, to do it completely on your own.
But they don't even, I thought, I understand they didn't even accept that.
They won't give you grant money to do it, you can pay for it on your own, and they'll acknowledge that you're doing the planning process and make sure that it's going through, you know, meeting all the federal regulations, but they're just not gonna pay for it. So,
So we would've had it done this sooner in order to be able to get in as an individual.
right.
But they don't have to do it more than every 5 years.
Right,
so
and
that's why
because
that's
your
scary.
3 counties are behind the timeframe that the other ones around were, we're basing when we contacted those counties based on when theirs were expiring, so we contacted them about a year before theirs expired, and because theirs were approved before yours were, it's just where the timeline kind of played out. And because the fact that they're just not getting as much money, that's why we have to require local counties to be contributing. And what we've, had other counties that we've worked with do, and what I suggested to Sue and O'Brien is to budget that over 2 fiscal years, because the project just won't be like a year long. So it wouldn't be anything that you'd have to amend this year's budget, it wouldn't even start till next fiscal year. So it'd be 5,000 next fiscal year, and then another 5,000 the next fiscal year. And that makes it easier to, you know, swallow, so it's not all at once. So, that was our proposal to you guys. We just wanted to get your feedback before we move forward with, because I contacted the state once I talked to Dan at our meeting last week, and I said, you know, let's talk to your supervisors, let's see what their thoughts are before I have the state amend the application that I've already started.
Emergency management is here to tell us that they want to contribute $5,000 over the next 2 years.
I really do want to, but my budget won't support that.
So we're pretty much stuck on this program.
This is something that an organization could go after community foundation grant for.
I don't think that fits in the uses for that money.
It's up to you, however you want to come up with it, but.
Raffle tickets.
Yeah. Either you come up with the 10, or you do it at 32.5 on your own completely, so.
What's the restricted half of hotel motel tax for? Yeah.
Parks, rec, and tours. Doesn't fit there either.
We have the other half, the unrestricted half, where we're sitting on that.
So you're just looking for a yes, we agree to join this.
Yep, and then we can figure out the logistics of where that money's gonna come from at a later time, but.
I'd make a motion to join O'Brien and Sue for our EMT funding. O'Brien is already on their own
Yeah,
program.
Brian, this is for to pursue the hazard mitigation grant funding for your plan update.
Motion and support to proceed with the hazard mitigation plan. Company Sue and O'Brien County in their efforts. Further questions or comments? Forward to Dan coming to a future meeting and saying, yeah, we will do that.
And I'll.
And you do have a board member on this committee too. So.
Yep. And also with that, I'll just keep Dan in the loop as to, they told me it could be a year when the funding comes. So we don't know when it'll be actually funded, but we're in their pipeline of projects. So.
But I have a feeling we have to commit or submit our funds before they?
It doesn't matter, actually, I can draw down the state, I draw them down at the same time, so, yeah.
All right, sorry, Barry. All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
So this is just kind of that push to regionalize basically everything.
Right, they actually just funded, the state just funded, SIMCO, which is the Council of Governments in Sioux City. They just got funding to do 5 counties together, and I got a call from the planner in their office, kind of like, there isn't really a whole lot of guidance, this is all new, so she's just kind of asking for my opinion, because I've been doing these plans for a long time, and stuff like that. But big area, 3 counties is lots, 5 counties is really big, so. Yep, thank you guys, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Here, I'll leave your card, actually. Aaron Albert is. Yep, yep. You're welcome, have a good day.
Consider approving the budget amendment public hearing date. You have a document for that here, Brian?
No, that's just some,
What are you, want to add to that, or what would you like for us to say?
the 14th
Okay?
at 9:15.
Board makes a motion to accept public hearing date for budget amendment on November 14th at 9:15 a.m.
Second.
We have support from Mr. Jones. Comments or questions? Discussion, all those in favor of setting that date, signify by aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. And if you guys don't mind, I'm going to step downstairs prior to our 10 o'clock item.
So what was that thing they wanted to repeal, are we not doing, is that?
With that ordinance,
Yeah,
because there were no changes after all,
okay.
so we're just gonna take out the repealing part and the public hearing part. So it's just the resolution and the ordinance, that's it. Went back and forth on that, and
But you still have to set a hearing to re-adopt the ordinance, right?
no.
Or you don't if you don't make.
Don't have to, no, as long as there's no changes, then, yesterday I had Dave DeNoble, he was here, and I had Nolan in there, and Jason, and they all agreed, yeah, no public hearing is necessary.
So all we gotta do is make a motion to approve
Yep,
the renewal.
yep, the resolution, and, yep. Pretty simple.
Such a smart group today.
spokesperson is right here. He's nominated. Good, how you feeling with that? No?
If you see Wilson, you should be next to it.
Oh, really? Do you have somebody help you? No, okay.
Various stages as you go through the field. And so those are probably picking up on the first too. Not a good situation.
You're gonna be done, well, you're not gonna be done this week or with this week. Your sister's holding out with that water sealant or whatever it is on. Well, it definitely has to be fairly new. I take it, yeah, something like that, till next year. Yeah, so who knows when it'll be done.
Okay, 10 o'clock item, we have identified the Ashton Pond and mitigation fund. You have some,
Well,
would you like to share, or? Copy, just see if we can get Aaron under too.
well, when the highway came through, there's a lot of different things happening. And, we now have a larger runoff coming into the ponds that you can see on the north side of Old Highway 60.
Yeah, is Aaron gone?
And if you go on the
Okay.
north side of,
You wanna just talk about
Oak
this
Hill,
Ashton
there's a large pond there we call the
Thank you.
Strout Pond. And if you look
Too much information.
right down on this edge of the
All right,
road,
thanks.
when it's raining heavily, that is a river coming in and feeding right into this pond. Which, if you look right over here, there's a culvert, which is underneath, Oak Hill. That seems to be relieving the Strout Pond at a pretty good rate, but, this last rain, just this last 4-inch rain, when I took pictures of that, the water was shooting out there, it looked like, it was under, like a fire hose almost, it was just roaring out of that. Well, that in turn fills these two ponds. And if you have any idea of how the strata in our city or on the east side of our Ashton work, whenever you bring that water level up, it's basically a sand vein. We're on glacial tide or whatever they call it. And the water level just comes right up. And we've had people that never had water in their basements simply because the amount of water, the volume of water coming into the pond is so great. And the culvert that relieves the pressure off of that pond is too small. And what we would like is some help, or we'd just like to have it taken care of, is make that culvert wider so that we could relieve the pressure sooner. Or as, basically, what comes in needs to go out. We have to have, you know, the same amount of outlet as we have inlet. And none of this would have was really an issue before this, because we just had an 8-inch field tile that came off of, all that land to the east. So it had plenty of time to just kind of trickle in and go out. But now, all that runoff off the highway and everything comes into that ditch, rolls right down that ditch along A46 and L36. And built that pond, and it just creates a huge issue. But the other part of the thing is, conservation added a fish gate on that culvert, on that outlet of that culvert. Well, when you've got this much, the old corn stalks and all that washing right in and getting through there, that blocks that fish gate up pretty fast. It's like having a fence over your outlet. So that even made the situation even worse than it was. But to give them credit, they were out there, they were out there almost instantly on every hour trying to keep that fish gate clean. So we can't fault them on that, and we don't want the carp in there. So really the only way to resolve this issue is to make another culvert or rebuild the one that's there, so that we can get rid of the volume of water that is coming in there that never used to come in there.
Where does that have to be at? I mean, where does that, can you add right next to the other one, or how?
You could add right next to the other culvert, or you could take the other culvert out and just make it larger, you know, but it needs to be,
How big is it now?
what do you think it is?
Like 6 foot over there.
It's 6 foot wide, and it's just not large enough. And like you
For
said,
this
with that
year,
fish,
I have a little difficulty sizing everything for what's happened this year, because this is,
well,
Big
this doesn't,
difficult.
you know, this
I mean,
is,
you
yeah,
said
I know,
nobody's ever had water in their basement, like,
It ain't a
and
problem.
they've never had it.
We can
This
have,
is an unusual year.
but we have had this issue with the water ever since the highway has been
but if we
completed.
could get 2 inches or less, it don't bother.
Because there's enough volume in the pit to kind of hold it. And really, did the issue really start until after the fish gate was installed?
After the fish gate is installed now.
Actually, yeah.
Because even if it's running full flow, you probably got 40% of that,
It plugged up pretty fast, I'm sure.
yeah. But I mean, you restrict the flow on that, outlet, probably at least by 40% with that fish gate in.
Where's that outlet go?
With that,
Where does that outlet go?
that outlet goes to the Otter Creek there. It goes right out to the Otter Creek. And it's not the fact that the Otter Creek is backing up into it. Yeah, there is enough flow coming down. It's just,
I'm not sure the exact location.
okay, I wish that we'd had an overhead, I could have walked you through all this.
Somewhere.
Here. Like I said, the water is rolling down here. It flows in here, and then there's a culvert underneath here, comes in there, and then it fills up both of these, and the outlet going out is right here,
Right there.
you know,
And then it goes into the river.
and then it rolls into the river. So what's happening is it fills up, and then, like I said, with the type of land that we're living on out there, it's just basically, we're floating on water. We're just, I opened up the neighbor's well the other day, and I think I'm only a foot below, the water is only a foot below my basement.
Amazing. So the fish gate, is that on,
And that's on the outlet side of old Highway 60.
They did the fish kill and restocking with that,
Right.
they wanted to eliminate carp getting back in there.
And we have there's a natural stream at the outlet, and when the water, normally there's hardly ever water in that stream, but when the overflow was going, and the carp just seemed to know that, follow that path. I mean, there was carp hitting that gate, just banging against it. They were jumping out of the water and just smashing it.
how long has that fish gate been on?
3 years.
2 years. 3 or 4 probably.
Is there a way to open the fish gate during the flooding period?
Well, if we do, we're gonna
Fill it up
destroy
with
the
water.
whole idea of why you even put it in there.
They did that. I talked to Matt a little bit yesterday, and he said that they had it open for a little bit, and the cart got up through it, even while
With the flow.
with the flow coming through it.
And, we really don't need to, after going through all the effort of trying to clean those ponds out and stuff like that, but we really don't want those carp back in there destroying the habitat for the fish that they stocked it with. And so, there's two situations.
Can I add something to that, Pat? Yes. On the other hand, also, we don't want to ruin the houses either, so we will take the fish gate out if that doesn't, if it, we'll take personal property over fish.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, that's.
if it's gotta come out, they
It's
gotta.
gotta come out, it's gotta come out, that's gonna be your only answer to it.
Is it a problem present itself very often since Highway 60 was in place, prior to the fish gate?
Since
Was
I've
there a
started,
concern?
I've been there about 7 years now, so, pretty much every time that we get, inch, 2 inches of rain, it's like clockwork. Matter of time, that big rain ball will be coming rolling down that,
Sorry,
that
something
hilltop.
turns
So it's been happening ever since the highway's been put in.
Yeah.
Just, the way the state went around with handing that down, they didn't do their proper channeling on getting it fixed before the year. And now they handed us over a big deal.
Huge issue.
So is it the state's issue with the
Well,
off of that road?
The state will
or-
never go with that road.
Say that, do you think you'll ever admit it?
Yeah, good luck with that.
I would guess,
Basically, what we're want is to be able to get rid of the amount of water that's coming into it, we want to relieve, get it out. So that, we realize it's still gonna come up in certain situations, but we can't have it lingering for days. What did it take that last time, about a week?
Yeah, it took a little over a week for, equilibrium with the water level. As soon as the river went down, it took over a week for it.
and I hope you don't misunderstand it, I'm not sympathetic to this, we don't want to come to find a solution to it. It's difficult to try to plan in my opinion, the worst year.
Yeah.
You're gonna be likely to overcompensate
But it
for what you
isn't,
want to
I mean,
need, but.
we have 2-inch rains, 3-inch rains every year. That's a given. And every time we have that amount of rain, we have that situation. It's not just this year.
What we, are hoping to do, FEMA has said that we can apply for federal flood mitigation funds. And so that is what we are hoping, to get funds from them,
This whole, all this
that
time
we,
here.
since we had them,
plus
but
all the
this
highway,
year,
just, I mean, it's a regular.
funds are available.
Right.
So we would like to apply for them.
No.
But they don't pay so much percent.
And then they pay the difference.
This is where the old seed cap used to be.
I think they pay 75% and then they'll pay, the state might pay 10%.
They were saying this is a state thing. FEMA the federal, we apply through the federal, but the funds come from the state, is what they had told us.
My understanding, 75% federal and 10% state, but I mean, but that's fine.
Could be the same.
Yeah.
They're paying the state, and the state's paying us,
Yeah.
so.
Sure.
Would be 85%.
So we'd be looking at, well,
So I would need a larger fish gate. If you
like
put in a,
culvert or larger culvert,
Me and Aaron were talking a while back, you thought that twice the size of that culvert would be roughly around, what, the $300,000 to $400,000 range? Is that correct?
Well, like, I think I was just talking to you about, like, giving you a concept like a precast box on a wide right-of-way like that, you know, it's not, they're not free. Especially the wider you get the box, it's not so much the height as much as the width, because then it gets really thick, that slab, and a lot of reinforcement in there. And so when you start getting into that 12-foot range, they get pretty expensive, each of those boxes. It's not uncommon, like, we put like a twin 12.
Then we put two small houses.
But I mean,
Rather than one large.
like, I'm doing a project this year, it was about $400,000 to do a twin 12 by 8, okay?
So $400,000.
And that was on a gravel road,
Right.
but we did widen the right of way there. Go ahead, 400.
From what we thought of the $400,000, our personal price out of that would be $60,000, if it's $400,000 price.
And we don't, the design isn't on this, nothing is done.
Right,
I mean,
and that's probably something, since it's coming from FEMA,
it's a little bit complex.
we're gonna have to have
situation.
probably engineering deals on it and everything like that.
Yep.
But what it amounts to is, we have a lot of very nice property that's being affected by this in the city. And it has to be resolved, because it's gonna bring property values down, and it's gonna be harder to sell your house because of the water issue every time it rains, because the water, and it's easy to resolve. Just relieve the water pressure. If it would get out of there faster, it wouldn't fill that whole vein up like it does and back up over to our homes or our basement. It would relieve faster so that that vein would fill up.
what problems does that create for the downstream folks by speeding up that water through there?
What's that?
What problems does it cause for the downstream people by increasing that
Oh,
flow?
absolutely none.
And you'd have to evaluate that, and drainage engineer has to evaluate that
Absolutely.
more so.
It's just getting rid of,
Because if it's all being retained there, it's obviously slowly seeping through that hole, and if you speed that up, what are the effects
well,
south of that?
when we had that, huge rain, we had water up to the bottom of the one bridge on the north side of the town. We had water all the way up there. And by noon, it was already 4 feet below that. So it moves out of there at a pretty good rate. And by 7 o'clock that night, it was, within reason again.
Because this would obviously be something I think a drainage engineer would have to look at to see what the impact is by increasing that flow and where you push that, because once you relieve pressure somewhere else, you usually create an issue somewhere else. And I don't know what the happy medium is
For us
with
to
that.
pay the price,
Well, I'm looking at if it pushes that river out, because you've sped up that much more water coming into it, does that affect that south end of town?
I understand the same, but my understanding of drainage law also is that you have the right to get rid of water.
Yeah, you have the right to get rid of water, but I'm just wondering what the impact is to the other part of town. So now you've created another problem somewhere
what's
else.
downstream of that is all floodplain. So it's not gonna be a huge issue. I mean, right below this area is the Ashton Dam, and below that Ashton Dam is a huge floodplain that can fill up all at once through down there. It's just pasture land. So it's not an issue.
Pretty sure also within that question is that it's gonna have to be one of the engineering, in order to be qualify to get the FEMA money. You also have to be able to meet that criteria. So, I mean, it would be,
That would all be part of the.
Cause where's the dam at on this picture?
Oh, let's see, where would it be?
On the white line, just above the number 15.
the dam is right here.
Yeah,
Up here.
you can almost see the bottom.
Right on
in
that
the river.
Okay.
Before that, it's nice and wide, and right after that, it's
Is that a dead end? Or what is it?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a small area right here.
What's right here?
Let's see if it's upside down. Okay, so, yeah, we're just sitting north of the belt right here. So, comes across right here to all this creek, comes right there, and this is kind of like an overflow area from here that just kind of deads end in there until the water gets high enough and it flows in.
Looking at the width of the river, it looks like it's
Pretty
pretty strict here quite a bit.
Yeah, this is where the dam is.
So the dam's here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's upside down.
So that's why I'm asking, if I increase all that flow, you've already got that
Yeah.
blockage there, are we gonna push that water up
No,
into that at the top?
The railroad tracks are right here, and the only time that it's ever been over top of the railroad tracks is the spring. Otherwise, the water has always been able to recede fast enough over top of the dam and then get out.
Okay. That's gonna be before you open up this flow.
What that?
If you open up that flow, your pattern of how fast everything went down before,
Well, right,
is
but I
obviously
mean,
gonna be different.
once this is down, we're never gonna have to worry about equilibrium on everything. It's gonna be depending on how full this creek is. If this is just as high as what the creek is, this water's not gonna move until this is down.
So then where does it go into here?
It will eventually just keep on filling over, but by that time, it got over the railroad tracks like right here, so then we kind of met our height. It was never really gonna go over top of that anymore. So by the time this goes down, then this takes forever. But, as long as this is down and it's got a big enough access to get out, then this pond should never really get up that high unless this is up. And if this is up, you're affecting, everything is affected downhill anyway.
When the river's full, how far does it push out?
That pushes all the way up to there right here. So pretty much up to the road, all the way up to the railroad tracks. Like, this was just one big lake the whole way through. Which is kind of surprising because, you know, you think that in 100 years, the 100-year flood, you should really only have it once or maybe twice. We've had how many since, 7 years since I've been working. 2 of them have been 500-year floods. So, I think, going back to what you were saying before, Jason, on something that's not really happening all that often, it is happening a lot.
Quite a bit. Weather patterns are changed or whatever it is, but
Well, I think a lot of it is that there's a lot more tile in the ground. That's creating all these water and filling up the creeks a lot more. Granted, I can't really say that that's because of the more rain that we've gotten, but it's why we got more water in the creeks.
I just think we could just as easily go through a 10-year period where we're way under the annual rainfall, you know,
I agree with you on
I'm
that
not
too.
disagreeing with what you said, we've seen some craziness like that, but.
And I agree with you on that, but if we have a chance of saving the property too, can't hardly.
Right.
So is the problem the fish barrier or the size of the outlet?
Size of the outlet.
size of the outlet is not large enough.
If you make it larger and then you stick in that fish barrier again, I assume you're gonna have the same problems with it filling in with debris.
Yep. You're still gonna have to have people there to clean that fish gate out, otherwise, yeah, you're right, you're gonna have the same issue.
Is that something that the city takes care of, or is that something you gotta call conservation to come out? and clean that?
Conservation, they're normally on top of that.
Because those are county ponds. Both of those ponds are county ponds. Oh. Yes, sir.
they say that it's his pond, but I don't see how it is, because I didn't think the last time you could own water, so. As long as there's,
You can own
access-
water, not like natural rivers, you can't own those, but you can own ponds.
As long as it's completely surrounded by your property. Yeah, where that is open to the ditch, so you can access it from the ditch. But anyway, if it is David, that is what it is.
But his pond comes up, but it gets relieved because that culvert is probably large enough. That could actually be larger too, but then we really have a situation. We just need to relieve that pressure out of those two county ponds.
So I had talked to our FEMA representative, and she was wondering if you could do an H&H for this. Is that something that you would be able to do for us?
I doubt we would be able to provide that for you. I think, my opinion on this matter is, it'd be best served with a consultant doing a study for you to provide to FEMA. I can be helpful in the process, but I think that's what you really need.
Like ISM or somebody like that.
Could be somebody like that, could be ISG, it could be, yeah, there's other people, and many people that could do it. I don't know who the county, who the city utilizes on some of the, who are some of the, do you have a consultant that you utilize on some of your things?
DGR is probably
DGR, yeah.
one of the ones we use the most.
Yep. You know, for this type of work, I think you're gonna find the most specialists in a place like ISG, Bolton and Mink, in our area. They're gonna have, and I think, what's the other one too that we've utilized, Jacobson and Westergaard, but I think ISG and Bolton and Mink, they're gonna have some expertise there to help you with this situation. And I also think that, yeah, the DOT definitely didn't do you any favors on this whole situation. There's a lot of things I see out there that I don't like as a county engineer, and I don't think they did you any favors, on that situation. Again, let's reiterate too, it was clear to me too, after researching the documents, that the DOT did actually transfer Old Six to the city and paid them to compensate them with that. Not that it's fair, but I'm just saying that's what did happen.
But it's still the county's water that we want gone.
We don't own the rate wall. It's accumulating in the county ponds, and I'm not, I wanna figure out how we can participate and how we can make this work, but I'm not prepared to say it's all ours.
Yeah. Well,
I think we
that's
need to
the
get
other side.
conservation board involved and see if
Could get
they
them
would just
involved.
as soon say, remove the fish gate and let's get this addressed quickly. I personally like the idea of trying to mitigate a hazard and use the grant funds if available.
We would like to do.
Well, I think you guys have a great opportunity to do so. I really do. But it's gonna take work, and the best way you're gonna get that done, I think, is by hiring a consultant to help with that process. The good thing is, even those consultant fees might be able to get reimbursed, so.
Yeah.
And that's why I wouldn't wait on it, to be honest. I would actually pursue it. Because time is your enemy right now, I think. And so documenting things and moving forward in a timely manner is actually probably gonna be in your advantage. Yeah.
Well, I think they need to be heard on that.
The other,
This is, I don't deny at all that the conservation and the county need to be participants in this. But it's within the city limits, so I wanna respect
the other
who
part of
initiates it and how do we do it.
he just mentioned that somehow we got blessed with old Highway 60, and you guys kept old Oak Hill, which goes to nowhere. You own a county road to, it's a long driveway for Ross.
Yep.
And if you look at the flow of traffic, they come up 846 from George area, and to get over to 846 over here by Freckles, you have to go down the highway and go across, and then you'll hit, that's where it wides to L36 to the south, and 846 to the east. And you don't really, unless you wanna go out onto the highway and then come back on, the only logical path is Old Highway 6.
That's not a
The
farm
only
to
logical
market
path.
road.
No, it is not. It is actually a city road, is what it is. And I wasn't here when this took place.
And,
This goes back a long time.
And, L36, or Oak Hill, is a road to nowhere.
Correct, because the highway cut it off.
Because you have to come through, to get anywhere, you have to come through a residential area. If you're on with, these speed trucks and so forth now that have 3 axles on it, we do not have roads equipped to handle that kind of traffic at all. And the way the flow works on the cities, I don't know if any of you haul grain into the city of Ashton, but you come down Old Highway 60, and then you cross the bridge, you go across the tracks, you go to the south, you get in line, you go across the scale, you dump at the terminal, then you go down to the south, to the north scale, empty, so that whole road you're running empty, and then you get back out on the 846 again, and you can go left or right from there. So it's a loop, and then you say, oh, how much, this is the 100-car train dump for basically northwest Iowa. And when they're loading beans out or corn out, that's 400 semis to fill a 100-car train or better. That's a lot of traffic rolling down that highway every day.
Is there a farm to market route in Ashton?
Just 846 right now is the only route, but into the city, no, not into the city. There's not one.
So basically,
It's along the north side of the city. And then L36 was the old route, so those were the crossroads that originally, and then they got cut off with the state highway back when the old highway was.
somebody wasn't looking at the whole situation when they designated all this, or didn't even just stand back and look, well, how do we get from here to there? There was a lot of stuff happened when that highway went through that wasn't right, and we need to get some of this corrected.
Was it addressed at the time it was put in?
I wasn't in office at the time.
Well, obviously there was agreements, and that's what I provided to the
I have a
board.
copy of our.
There was agreements, it just,
But, yes.
the way it was done was that they actually took ownership over Old Highway 60, and they agreed to, the DOT compensated them for it.
So they agreed to take it?
They agreed to take it, no, they did. And then that's the facts. I'm saying,
You're gonna have to show me this map. Where's that farm to market route?
farm to market route is 846, which is,
This road here.
it's 846. And then there's also the, L36 used to go like this. Okay? Well, now it dead ends right here. So this is still a county designation road because it's at the city limits. So we actually own the right of way here, down to this place. And then the state owns this gap in between. And then we have one right of way down here where the new route is, he's absolutely correct, the new road is Northwest Boulevard, going into town. That's the connecting route. Why that wasn't done, I have no clue.
It's actually 846
That
and
could be another route.
L36
They make a loop, actually.
together.
Or they can go out here too, it's however they decide to do it. But I'm sure this is a major route, as well as.
Yeah.
County will take care of the new piece and
They all there.
and then if we have to be resurfaced, we may have to contribute some money.
What's that?
Yeah, I guess I read that to say that that one specific action for the county is where the county is participating. And to split hairs, this is Ashton saying that the county is doing this, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have to look at our.
It was kind of a gentleman's agreement at the time with the engineer at the time that it was yeah, you just go ahead and sign those papers, but we'll take care of it type thing. And now, we're living with the gentleman's agreement that nobody can vouch for. And I remember, talking with, Bill Emoff, that at one time they were talking, you know, flip-flopping or something like that, old Oak Hill. But what, we cannot have that, traffic coming down through city limits or East Third Street, you know, if you wanted to be cut, you know, get picky about it and say, well, then they can go down Oak Hill, and they're still gonna have to come through a residential area.
I understand.
And the Northwest Boulevard is the only logical thing that makes any sense.
So right now, you receive farm to market funds on the Oak Hill Road, right?
Yeah, I probably receive a tiny bit of money every year for Oak Hill, because we have the right of way there. Even though most of the people that live along, I mean, it services the city more than anything, but there is county residents that live on that one side. We're all county, I shouldn't say it that way, but rural residents, and yeah, we currently still plow it, I'm sure, and do all that kind of stuff, you know, we do all that stuff, right? So but it isn't a connecting road, I agree with you, it is not a correct connecting road, because the new highway cut it off and changed everything. Well, it didn't necessarily change it, because they still had to come through town back in the day when the farm to market system was set up the way it was. I mean, they still use the old highway, the only difference is the state owned it then, not you, and now they gave it to you, and you guys got compensated for that, so there was an exchange that took place back in that time, and I don't know that the people that were there did the best. I mean, it didn't seem to me like, yeah, there was things thought through, or maybe that at the time that was the considerations, and they accepted those. I mean, that's what took place. I wasn't there. I can't speak to it, you know. All I can see is what's there and what exists today in writing and what's.
How much was the consideration?
It's listed there. I don't remember how much it was exactly.
$41,200.
There was some different things. It was broken out for different stuff. I think it was more than that. I can't remember.
No, that was it. We didn't.
I don't have it sitting in front of me. You guys have copies of that, or?
Yes. I've got copies of that.
Sure.
The amount that we received, $41,200.
None of this got printed out though, right, for the meeting, or I'm just wondering. I sent some to the board.
And if you look at this map, this is supposed to be 17 when this photo was taken. And the green lines on it are all supposedly county land or county roads. Well, they've got one running right across the old highway like it's still there, although it doesn't.
I believe this is the issue that needs to be addressed, but I don't think it fits under the current agenda heading. So I'd like to see further efforts made on this, but, as far as the mitigation in the Ashton Pond, I would like to see our conservation board weigh in on how they feel, if they want to just forego the fish trap, fish gate. And they want to participate in adding additional culverts and so fish gate on that as well, but, yeah, I can see us proceeding, I just don't know what they're to say, what level at this point, standpoint.
We are here just to make you aware of a really bad situation, and it needs to be taken care of somehow. And if we can work on this whole project together, we would make it a whole lot easier.
mentioned the H&H survey, what's that mean, or what is that? Just what they call it.
Telling me yesterday, she said to ask her if he'd be able to do the H&H study so that we can get it going as soon as possible.
I think it's important that you'd hire a consultant to do this for you, I really do. I think you're gonna, I can be helpful, I'm totally fine being helpful in the process, because I'm not gonna be fighting against you, I'll be fighting with you, you know what I'm saying, so. But I think it's definitely to your advantage and to actually pursue a consultant, because you can actually get reimbursed for those costs too, as part of this, and they can bring to light they can talk a lot about this stuff too, and write it up, and it might go well in negotiations with the state too, and some of that stuff.
So can you give me phone numbers?
Oh, yeah, no, I can give you phone numbers for people to contact, absolutely, yeah. And I can even do some legwork there and research a little bit for you, try to find some of who I think might be the best people to consider something like this and do the work on it.
Yeah, she said just as soon as possible we can get it into them, and they can get things moving on that end.
Exactly. I mean, the good thing is if you get it documented, I mean, this is on the list. Now you really need, I think, aggressively pursue a schedule to get it evaluated and what's needed there. And that's you're gonna want something to happen soon.
Right.
You're not gonna want it to string out for a year.
Right.
You're gonna want it to happen over the next couple of months or less. So, that's why.
I guess I see that fish gate always being an issue, because the rain doesn't always happen during business hours. You know, it could be the middle of the night, I can't get somebody from conservation out there to clean that up, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning while it's pouring. I mean, it's always gonna be an obstruction issue with it being there.
Agreed.
But I don't know if it needs to come out then, and you just live with the carp or what, but no matter what you do, whether you make the outlets bigger, you're still gonna have the issue with the fish gate, if you leave it in. But I guess I would need to get more information from conservation on what their thoughts are, if there's a different method that they can apply that won't get plugged up as easily. I don't know what their gate looks like now, but it's always gonna be an issue.
Just to clarify, there was over $80,000. There was the initial stuff that they did, which was like 40 something, and then they gave you a lump sum, I think, of like 41,000 something for taking over jurisdiction. That's what I'm reading that.
Yeah, I got the $41,000.
Yep.
Certified.
41,200. That was for taking over jurisdiction. Now I'm guessing too, just like I received some funds on Oak Hill, you guys received something for your road use. I'm assuming it's not a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money either. But it might be $5,000 or $6,000, whatever it is that they're giving you for that.
How many lines do we have to go until we get to that ordinance?
So I'm gonna do it here in 5 minutes.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Well, I guess we've brought the issue and you're aware of it. And as far as the road is concerned, we'll probably be here again to talk to you, that's on the agenda. Because, at least, you're aware of that and you can kind of think of, I think you understand what I'm saying. It's really the logical path for L36 and A46 to get from A46 to A46, you have to go down that road to get to it. So what is it called if it's not called A46?
Yeah. You might not want to go down this path immediately, because right now you guys have more control over getting something done here with FEMA and stuff. And so if we start muddying the waters a lot, it could actually cause problems with that funding. You might want to consider that. You might want to consider that. Exactly. 'Cause I'm not opposed to talking. I think there is reasonable. I understand you guys have reasonable thoughts here, on what's going on here. Now, recognize that you did get compensation too, so it's not like we ever got a cent for this. We never did. Which is, but I'm just saying jurisdictionally we never did. Now, I do think it's reasonable though, because I've always thought that isn't the correct farm to market route is that way, and I'm intending to do a lot of other things in other communities similar to this, because things have changed and it's not the same way it was before. I mean, even in the city of Sibley, Old Highway here is still a local road.
it's not a farm to market extension. You see, this was all done a long time before I was here, but realistically, I think it should be. It should be added to the farm to market, realm, in the farm to market system, in my opinion. Never was, I don't know why, I have no clue.
Okay.
Yep.
I just got one question to ask real quick before we, what's the status on the Cedar Cabin property?
Currently, it's owned by the secondary road department, I believe, that property.
I've heard from, quite a few different, or a couple different contractors right now that they've been offered to buy the property. Is that true?
I'm not aware about it.
Okay. I was just kinda curious, because I thought that whole property was bought for the purpose of building a secondary building.
Yeah.
And not for the purpose of resale.
The initial purchase was purchased for that reason,
Okay.
but it was
That's all I
not
wanted.
necessarily committed to going forward.
Okay. Well, I guess if it doesn't, I would like to suggest maybe you should, deed that back to the city, so the city can do what's best for it, instead of,
I wonder, could you even expand that north pond to allow more retention area? That would be a potential.
it could, but you're
Already
losing
in the county.
property to possible business or something. Now, there's small property, but there's still some small stuff that you can do with it, but I guess that's, overall, you guys own it, but business got taken away from Amherst, so it's kinda, we'd like to be able to maybe get some benefits out of it. Anyway, that's not on the agenda, I was just wondering, so, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for figuring this out.
Everybody feel educated on this topic, or?
Yeah.
Like they, or know less than they did before? Hopefully.
Stop the meeting for a minute, or recess.
We don't report that. No one available.
I think he was coming right back down, I don't know.
Okay.
Popped his head in.
Was that Nancy Monarch and at the rise related
The three, yep,
the BRI?
DE, capital BRIE.
I see names in the minutes, but I don't.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm sorry, but
Andy gave you.
yeah, that guy, yeah. The agenda was shorter today.
What's that?
I thought the agenda was shorter today.
It never is, never.
No better, I know, I don't anymore.
would say is that having talked with Lori Roof, General Assistance Director, it sounds like there's going to be some changes that will be made in General Assistance Ordinance, but she would like to go to her annual conference in November 1st. It's not on November 1st, so November before making those changes. She's also had some technical difficulties, which I can certainly empathize with in terms of sending me her specific desired changes as they stand right now. And so between the time it took me to review all the ordinances to begin with, the fact that we needed to pass these, I figured it's best that we just pass them now. Leave them the way they are. There's not any glaring deficiencies, I understand it presently in the general assistance ordinance, just some things that need to be tweaked. And then we can come back and go through the process of changing that general assistance ordinance in November, December.
So we just set that one public hearing then in November, December for just that one ordinance? That one,
Yeah, that's the plan.
We're starting to think there's no sense waiting on approving the ones that aren't changing, when that one can be addressed separately later.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pass resolution number 10.
Motion and supports passing resolution number 10. Any further comments or discussion about it? Mr. Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Okay.
Ordinance requires a second and third reading. It also, code allows us to waive the second and third reading. The last or second to last page of this ordinance document has it there for us to do that if we want. If we don't, it'll come up at our next meeting. Have a second reading.
Motion to waive that?
Aye. Very good. Mr. Moore makes the motion. Supports it. Discussion or concerns with waiving the second and third reading and approving final, giving the final approval. Technically, that'll be done on published, right?
Yeah, it'll be published next week.
Okay. And that's just by motion, not a resolution, so all in favor signify with aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
See you in 5 years.
Yeah, I'll be around.
No.
We'll bring you back.
No. I've already made notes in my book, so.
Resolution 11 is the next to be considered. It's semi-annual procedures for TIP things. This one is concerning Senex Fund to Secondary Road Fund.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 11.
Moore. Mr. Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
I vote aye. Similarly, resolution number 12, concerning amended ethanol tip, debt collection fund to the amended ethanol tip from principal and interest fund. For resolution 12.
Second that.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Boyd, how do you vote? Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 13 addresses Bosma. Amended ethanol tip, Bosma to the amended ethanol tip from principal and interest.
Second that.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Moore, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next we move on to green and yellow. 14. This one is moving the funds, but the authorization to make the rebate is not, or the claim to make the rebate payment is not being processed. Similarly to the rest, we do not receive the employment figures and the item as part of the initial agreement on the project, so. Jones, how do you vote on resolution 14?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
I vote aye. 15. Oh no, we're getting close to the ribbon bump. Number 15 is another one concerning TIF for JRJ to the amended ethanol TIF flowing interest.
Make a motion to approve resolution 15.
Identified conflict of interest for myself. Voting on that, Mr. Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Gore, how do you vote?
Aye.
I abstain.
That carried.
Yeah.
Northwest Iowa Care Connection.
Are you guys ready?
Yep.
I don't know why. A couple weeks ago, we had made requests, or a month ago, at our last meeting, a month ago, we made requests for all the counties that were interested in joining the region to submit financial data and background information to satisfy a portion of the motion that said that they couldn't enter with debt. We received information from 5 of the 6 counties. 3 probably to the east would have met the requirements, but Cassuth offered or had enough question marks that we were not content recommending to the governance board to admit Cassuth. Geographically, that eliminated the rest of them, so they were denied based on that. Sioux did not get their information returned timely. It was not available to be considered at the meeting, so Plymouth was the only one that did met the requirements concerning debt. So the review committee recommended the governance board to accept Plymouth's letter of intent to join the region. The governance.
So does that force Sioux, because now they're landlocked by letting Plymouth now?
Technically, corners can touch, so they would have an out, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
It's a good question, but there's been a lot more that's gone down. It's trying to go in order. The next day, the governance board did address the recommendation. I did support the recommendation, and I supported the governance board recommending to our counties that Plymouth be admitted. And I said at that time, I didn't know really how I would vote at this board concerning that, but I thought they met the criteria and it was worth sending to member counties. Plymouth and Sioux have since pushed hard to get Lyon County to join their region and remain viable. Yesterday, there was a board meeting in Lyon County, and Lyon County on a 3-2 vote voted to leave Northwest Iowa Care Connections and join Plymouth and Sioux in Sioux Rivers. We've not received that as a withdrawal yet, but they have till December 1. This would make Sioux Rivers viable. Every action of Plymouth and also Sioux, but Plymouth is the one that we really need to consider here today, I believe has been that we were just an option. Really was no interest to join Northwest Iowa Care Connections. They were pushing hard to retain Sioux Rivers. I can accept that. I don't like how it went down. I don't like all that went with it. I don't believe they're interested in really being a Northwest Iowa Care Connection member. I think we could get along and we could move forward if it came to that. But personally, with things that have transpired, I don't know that I will vote to support them coming at this board level. I don't know that I'm recommending or telling you guys that, just sharing with all that's gone down, where we're at. Our attorney did say we should just as well go through the process because Lyon County hasn't officially withdrawn. Oh, that was the other thing. We thought it might be simpler if we just reached out to Plymouth County and said, do you want to rescind your letter of intent to join? And an email came back, not from the board, but from the board chair saying that their county wanted to keep their options open. So even with Sioux Rivers seeming viable now and likely their course of action, the statement was made by one of their members that they want to keep their options open. I'm not trying to be petty. I just don't like being an option for down the line a ways. Maybe that's what we have to do. I want to work with people that want to be in our region and want to work with us.
I guess I don't understand why they would not rescind it if they got buy-in to withdraw. Why you would still why would you want that still as an option?
This is speculative. I find it very interesting because Woodbury has not signed the letter, or the 28E with Rolling Hills. And my understanding of their acceptance was conditional upon them having $1 million coming into their region. Again, speculative. I'm assuming that that was somewhat predicated on them selling the crisis center or giving up the value of that amongst the former Sioux Rivers members and having some finance available to them. Sioux Rivers remains viable. I'm pretty confident that their 28 says that the crisis center will stay a part of Sioux Rivers, so Woodbury wouldn't have access to that, or may not have any value of it coming to them. Therefore, I don't know if they'll go to Rolling. I don't know. It's a mess, but
So like Cassuth is out of the picture, Emmett's out of the picture, Pocahontas out of the picture, or they were never part of it?
Pocahontas was. Cassuth, Hancock, Winnebago, and Worth were interested.
Okay.
I'm content saying Cassuth, because the board has indicated they don't want to have debt coming into the region from the new county. I believe there's enough information to say that's a real possibility. Not a guarantee. They're going to, actually, I went to mediation yesterday. Or was scheduled yesterday. I did not have the results, but that was surprised it was done in one day.
So what's the impact on our region by Lion going with that group?
It's pretty new yet. I don't know. We can't change our levy rates. We still have the state requirements as far as what the regions have to offer. If we generate less, we have less revenue available to meet the requirements because we have a smaller region, but at least we're 5, not 3. And population changes that drastically too, but that's just another comment to it.
So Plymouth wants those two. So they've already worked out a deal to get Lion out, but I still want us to go through the motion of either accepting or rejecting. That's basically what it boils down to.
And if we don't vote on it, our bylaws state that after 30 days, the governance order, it would be viewed as a support. Our county would be supportive of their joining if we don't take action.
Do all the rest of the members of the majority vote to let them in?
Yep. Yep. They believe Palo Alto, and I just printed off as Palo Alto's version of the resolution that they're considering today, but I understand they won't likely be voting on it today. What the details, I don't know, but it was given consideration today.
Have Clay and Dickinson and O'Brien, have they voted on it yet, or?
No. Clay met yesterday, so I'm pretty sure they did not.
So is it something we want to table or something we want to vote on?
I don't know if it matters a great deal either way. We do have a regional meeting this afternoon. It may give a little bit of clarity or maybe worth mentioning what action we took. I don't know if it changes much or if it's on the agenda to I don't remember what the agenda is like, but
I guess I would make a motion on that last minute then.
I know it was sent out and it was back to the fact that the resolution from the governance board recommending to our counties to accept or to vote on accepting Plymouth. I don't know if we have to do a resolution. Even county desiring to vote on the proposal shall do so by resolution. Okay, I'm sorry. We have to turn it. So it seems odd, but I would almost think let's make a motion to entertain resolution 16
Palo Alto's ordinance, we would be at 16, and we would be changing our name in all the spots where it references Palo Alto. But I guess to me, I read that to say, we have to do a resolution and then show the recorded vote that it fails, I guess, if that's the intent.
So you're looking for a resolution to, or
It would just be.
motion to bring the resolution to a vote.
Introducing resolution 16, I would recommend using this Palo Alto example with, obviously, this is Osceola being inserted in identifying our board members. And then we would just return this with showing it either passed or it was voted down.
Alright, well, I will withdraw my earlier motion, and I will make another motion to have a vote on resolution number 16.
Alright, have a motion to consider resolution number 16, concerning Osceola County accepting Summit County into Northwest Iowa Care Connection Mental Health and Disability Services region. Do we have support to give that resolution consideration? So, yeah, if you have any further questions or want to discuss it any further, I think I've put out there all that's happened, and, yeah, and not just happened that I think I want to support it. That is acceptable. The motion was made by Mr. Jones. I will ask, how do you vote on the resolution, Mr. Jones?
No.
Okay. Mr. DeBoer, how do you vote on the resolution?
Aye.
Okay. And as chair, I will vote no. 2-1. Osceola County will submit to the region that they are not approving, accepting. I don't know at all how the other counties will all come down on this. And it's like an exercise in futility.
Well, even if it's not a Plymouth skipped out, then Wine and Sioux would have to be their own by themselves. Sounds like, it doesn't make any sense.
Their options would be Northwest Iowa Care Connection or, again, the corner of the fetch, so then they could consider Rolling Hills. But Woodbury would likely be there, and I don't see Sioux wanting to be anywhere that Woodbury is. No. And timing wise, from the 28 east, they're up against the wall. I don't know how it could work anymore. So.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's, no. It's disappointing. I think we had a strong region. I think all the counties got along well, and I hate to see any of them leave.
What was Lyons' reason for bailing?
I was disappointed. Part of what they seemed to hold to was that they didn't like the statistics of how many individuals were getting service from the region. As a region, we make things available to all of our members, and utilization is not really something we can drive. I don't think there's any way they can show that we're not trying to have Lyon County utilize it, or, I don't know if there's any way that Sioux Rivers would be offering something that would improve that we can't or aren't. Unless I'm missing something, but I did attend their meeting yesterday and said, if that's the case, I really have a problem with them deciding to leave the region with that being a portion of what they're considering, if they've never brought it to the board, that it's an issue that should be addressed. So I find that frustrating.
So they're not getting the services, or we're not pushing the services hard?
They're just saying that the numbers of individuals utilizing regional services are not as high as they think maybe they need to be. And Beth Will spoke up, she said, well, as far as like deputies bringing someone in that needs services, they may be able to identify a bed at the crisis center in Sioux City or some sort of service that's available, but you get to a point where it's voluntary yet too. So if the service is there, they're identifying they need it, but unless the individual accepts it, or.
You can't pay him.
Right. So, and then there are other issues that once it's not a law enforcement issue, and they're trying to go get help, transportation becomes an issue. Law enforcement can't transport them for something that's not a legal matter, and so then getting an individual there as well. And the region doesn't have something in place to go get people, but still, the difficulty that would be for every county involved, not specific to any one of us, so.
I think some of those programs have gas vouchers and whatnot for some of those services. So I mean,
Yeah,
as far as rides on them there, I don't.
but if they're in crisis and needing to get to the facility to service that, I don't know that a RISE driver is equipped or should be, bringing them into their vehicle to address that. I think a lot of the problems are just system-wide. I don't think it's specific to individual county experiences, unfortunately, and I don't know, I've not heard of the solutions or answers to that yet, but certainly I've not seen anything from our region that wouldn't want to try to address whatever we can. A lot of this was just provided information. I thought the information that Kim put together for Lyon County yesterday, I had her reply for Osceola County, that it was just good overview and a reminder of what's available. So, thanks for hearing me out. I don't know where we're at.
Let us know how you've gone today.
But,
And you'll have some updates from your meeting today after they'll tell you how some of the other counties.
I would guess some of them will have addressed it today. Okay, received the final ICAP review and sent it out, it was asked to be put on the agenda.
The only question I had was, do we have any sort of contract in play with the medical exam?
Not a contract. That's the point.
I was supposed to.
Well, unless, we could have years and years ago, and I don't remember since I've been here.
Are we contracted for that service at all, or no?
They just appoint him as a medical examiner. I don't know, I have to check. Because every time a position changes, that changes, and you don't do your own contract each time, I can check and see.
That was the only question I had, because they mentioned in there that if we had a contract in play with a medical examiner or medical director, that those would need to be reviewed by the county attorney. And I didn't know whether we had one or not.
Medical director we do.
Do we have a contract there?
Yeah.
Did no one review?
That I don't know, I couldn't tell you. That was the one from Sheldon, and now they're switched to.
Well, that's for the ambulance though.
Huh?
That would
But
be,
they're still called medical directors.
okay. But as far as like medical examiner, do we
No,
have something
no,
for that?
that's different.
One does,
Medical director is not the medical examiner, no.
I don't know, I would guess there's a contract with that one, but with the one, Sheldon.
The director, yeah, there is, that I know.
Is your contractor, how does that work?
I'm not sure Sandy always handles that. I don't know if she does it on a yearly basis, or, I couldn't tell you.
Could we have no one review that contract to see
Mhm.
what's covered and not covered?
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be one to consider, we need to put one in place for medical examiner. Required to have, or have a medical examiner, but.
I can mention it to Nolan, and he can, do research and see if that's necessary. Yeah.
Okay. Let him look at that.
Okay, here's a bunch of drainage that you can go through, and which one is yours, and What?
Go on, six months.
So this is just for the one district down there?
Yes, probably, yep. We just had several things that came in for different drainages, so.
Because these are all being split up by the same amount for the review.
Yeah.
Where's 11?
That's over by,
I would think that's the,
Yeah, 11 feet.
by Allen area, or is it?
Ditch.
who's got 9?
That me?
And 11 is you two?
Yep.
22? That'd be you two?
Yeah. Depending where it's at.
I should
yes.
expand what
Might not
year
be
it
the
is.
Majority of it is.
23.
Okay, are you guys going to sign this contract for the engineer then?
Good. He doesn't sign it,
You
we,
want to, okay,
but the test.
this is just that last page of the contract, I didn't know how you guys wanted to handle that.
23 would be, Jerry. That's all the way over here by Ashland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's Jerry. 39.
here's the contract and all the resolution. Who'd you say 23 was, is that Jerry?
Yep. 42 would be Jerry. This is
That one's his too.
Yep. 42, that's right over my core, yeah. About,
Do those next time.
Oh, this doesn't have a fiscal year thing.
Oh, so you wanna wait with that then to sign it?
Well, I think, yes, they did.
Okay.
Sent it to
What's that?
Where did we send Mike for gas meals and lodging? Did we just send Sharon, was on the last last meeting? Did they go to the same one?
Mike, what's the one said?
Just didn't get it turned in.
They must have used the county card.
Vanguard School.
What's that?
Right here. Outfit,
Where was that?
Cedar Rapids.
What was the autopsy fee for?
Who's that to?
Medical examiner.
Or what number, what phone number is it?
784?
784?
Yeah. Is that a recent pass? So all these are done in O'Brien County, but we have them, we don't do them here.
Autopsy? He passed away in O'Brien, but he is our resident, was a medical examiner in O'Brien County doesn't, we have to reimburse them. Because they can't go from county to county. That,
So if you pass in another county, the bill still comes back to us.
yep,
If he's a resident here.
yes, yes.
So you die in Florida on vacation, send it back here. Alright.
Yep. Only if there's an autopsy requested by the medical examiner. If the family requests one, they have to pay it themselves.
Where's the other day?
Well, it's through the,
WCA.
yeah, workers' compensation association, or whatever it is, because they take care of it for us. If we have any claims, we have to report it to them and report it to Bill.
So what's the work comp premium that we're still paying out?
Oh, that was an audit that was done for last year, never gets done for the next year. See if we need to pay them more, which I guess we do.
Get a refund on that?
Yeah, right. Somebody gonna take this down to Aaron to see if we'll sign it, or? Huh? You want it? Huh?
Where's the donor?
That's all right.
Gloria Torres works in this public safety, right?
Yes, she's a dispatch, yeah.
We pay her separate for interpreting.
Yes, we do.
So if you're a bilingual employee working in the sheriff's department, you get paid separate for interpreting.
If she comes in, she has to come in after hours to get reimbursed.
But not on.
No,
Not
not
on
on
each
call,
shift.
no.
Better for an agent, that's it.
He does. Huh? Which one? Oh, J or J? You signed it.
I know, I didn't vote on it,
Okay.
What is your friend, vice chair, what is his name, vice chair?
I can do that. I can do that, yeah.
Please, and thank you.
I can do that.
We want to sign over the top of that? We'll get it signed.
Okay, all done.
I printed it, but now I can make changes, so I can do it quick.
All right, guys, any interest in acting on the claims? I'll identify 761 and 778 Boston Water Service, 815, all JRJ.
Which ones are they again?
761, 778, and 815.
761,
And 815.
7,
78,
yeah,
815.
Oh, he asked, but I don't know if he's got, he hasn't said that he's got any response from anybody. He's asked.
We said that last time, we would wait for. You look at that building,
Yep,
you take a,
needs work.
yeah.
Needs a lot of work.
I don't know, what was that? I mean, how could they get it built so funny?
I have no idea. You know what year that was built?
I mean, this thing was built on the inside out or something.
Yeah, what's the earnings cell number? I don't know what your guys' intercom numbers are, so I never intercom yet. 12:13, okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, foreign hard workers.
Did Ernie use a different mower? He was out mowing the zero turn the other day.
No.
Yeah.
Out here?
Yeah.
No. For some reason, that new one you got.
Yeah, but that's a gutter tractor, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
He's mowing with a zero turn mower,
I don't know.
John Deere. It looked like a very new one.
Maybe he was demoing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I was up across the road by the home run gauge and fixing up the mower, and he was over here.
Oh.
Whipping around like, you know.
I know,
I
the
just
new
thought-
one does turn pretty darn good, but, no.
Zero turns got the handles on it.
Yeah, no, I've never seen him do that.
He was not the one that he normally, he has the cable now.
Not yet,
That's it.
maybe it is not, but it just wasn't last week. I don't know what you saw.
Okay. Anyway, maybe I'm seeing different people.
Yeah, oh, you weren't seeing the lawn, or the spray guy, were you? He has one of those.
Well, if it was a spray guy, he wasn't spraying. He was
Oh,
mowing.
okay, well, no, because he was here,
Okay.
and he has one of those that flips around on, but he stands on that thing.
I'm pretty sure this was early in,
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
maybe we just make your time do another reason for a reason. Or he had the cable, the other one.
That could be, I don't,
Yeah, so anyway.
I don't know what he all does.
I don't either, I guess.
I have enough just to go
What's our
on.
agenda? There it is.
Largely driven by Jack asking to address our union
Union.
negotiating discussion.
Your financial's gonna call.
That's right.
And there's a weed commissioner annual report.
Yeah, or maybe have something back to us on the 30th.
Hey, what are you doing? Oh, okay. I hope so. Did you ever get any bids on the building permit ambulance shed? No, I haven't seen anything, so, okay, all right, they were just asking about it. Who did you call? Hoekstra? Okay. Olson, Steve Olson, okay. Good? Okay. Who? Dykstra? Don't know. that's fine. Okay, were you using a zero-turn lawnmower up here? Where'd you get that from? Oh, okay, why were you doing that? Oh,
You
okay,
weren't seeing things.
got it, okay. Leroy just said he saw you using one, and just wondered if that was a new one, or what it was. Got it, got it. Okay, all right, okay, thanks. Bye. That's his own. Yeah, it was because he changed the cab over yet, and he still wanted to mow it, because a bunch of leaves came down, and he still wanted to mulch them. So he just used his own,
Because they had the cab on there.
because they have a cab on, yeah. You're not losing it, you're fine, you're fine.
All right.
I said, I don't look out the window, my windows are so dirty anyway.
So, do you think you could have something?
Yeah, he said he's gonna check into it, yep.
When we talked to him on the 9th, he hadn't heard nothing back yet, on the 23rd.
He says, called all four of them and nobody's been around. Do you want that on the agenda for the 30th?
And if he doesn't have nothing, then we can take it off. I'd like to review, kind of know where we're at, what it's gonna cost to fix or tear down, or what we need to do with it.
Is there anything else on the 30th besides Spear and union negotiations and the weed commissioner report?
I think so.
So far, anyway, I mean, that can change.
An hour, yep.
An hour?
Is that what we have?
No, I've got, no,
Oh, the 9:30.
somebody put 9:30 in for weed commissioner. That's not my writing. That's Michelle's writing. We can change that.
I'm not sure what that means. Check.
Yeah, it's 45 minutes. I guess the weed commissioner has to wait a little bit or wait a little bit. And we have 526 absentee ballots.
How far is that ahead of usual?
A record. It's a record.
Well, if nothing else, I'd like to potentially use your computer to change the resolution to the mental health region.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Bring that along today.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn, or you guys sick of making motions in second? You want me just to declare, right?